how does the book help someone get over that fear of rejection?
Okay, rather than telling people what you do, ask questions. So you reverse the communication in almost every case.
How do you teach someone who doesn't naturally have that confidence?
Confidence comes from repetition of something. If you do something enough, you'll get good at it, good enough to feel confident in it.
From that experience that shaped you as a coach today?
It's one step at a time.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Lucas Bookscape. I'm very, very excited to have today's guest. It is none other than Blair Singer. He is an internationally renowned business coach. I personally really like his writing. I mean, it's the first time I've found business writing in, a management book. It's actually taught me much more. Then tell me, why is anybody writing this? Because it's real. It's human. Over the past 3 decades, he has gone across the world and trained entrepreneurs, salespeople, leaders on what they can do to grow. Not just grow within the space of their work, within their profession, but also to grow as individuals. Something that satiates them. He's a key member of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Advisors. He's known for other books, which are Team Code of Honor, Summit Leadership, and we're going to today talk to him about his latest book, which is Sales Strategies for Everyone. His teachings combine growth strategies, combined with a strong belief that sales skills and leadership are values that are your life skills. And just before we started, he never talked about how all human beings are inherently able to sell. It's about finding the right way to sell. Welcome, Blair.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And thank you to you and to Bookcast for having me on. Apparently you have 4 million titles. Is that correct? 4 million private, non-pirated titles. That's quite an accomplishment. So thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I've been all just really, really looking forward to this. Sales Strategies for Everyone is Blair Singer's latest book. It's a practical step-by-step guide to mastering the art of selling. It shows how everyone, regardless of experience, can build confidence. And I'm creating confidence. That's reading the book. Overcome rejection. And I think everybody in the world has elements of RSD. And develop a personalized selling style. And I think that helps win trust and overcome rejection and develop a personalized selling style. And close more deals. And I think that's what every entrepreneur, every person who works in sales teams is trying to do. And I know that Blair draws a lot of lessons from his earlier books, Team Code of Honor and Summit Leadership, about leadership, culture, inner mindsets, that help create a holistic approach, rather than a holistic overall approach to business success. Do you think I've captured the essence of what you do, Blair, correctly?
Yeah, I think you got it. I think the one other thing too that I would say, it's not just about closing deals. It's about making your dreams come true. If you have an idea, something you want to do, a project, and you need help with it, you need to sell other people on why they should be willing to support you, whether they're investors or whether they're just friends. A lot of people have great ideas that never see the light of day because they're afraid to ask for help. And I think that, so that's why I say it's a life skill.
I completely agree with you. I think everybody has a lot of ideas and they just don't know how to ask or go to people and be able to pitch it. I mean, I know on an average have 2 good ideas, what I think are good business ideas a year, and then I'm like, I don't know how to sell them. And then they go into this little file I have where I write things down, put it there, and it's forgotten.
So let me just say something about that before we get too far. sales is your number one skill in business and in life, in my opinion. Okay. But there's two sales. One sale is selling to a customer or somebody else like that. That's obvious. But the most important sale of all, and why it's number one, is you selling you to yourself. You know, it's that day when you like, I can't do it. I'm too shy. What if they say no? I'm going to look like an idiot. And that's when you got to start selling you to yourself. I believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself. So I say that sales is probably the best personal development program on the planet that you get paid for every day as you get better at loving yourself and taking care of yourself. So that's how I look at it.
That's such a great insight, but I think our audience also needs to have a little more, to know a little more about the book. So I'm going to give them a little synopsis, and then you and I will dive straight into a conversation.
Good.
So Blair, I mean, of course, you and I have been talking about my experience with the book, how I feel, but I'd love for our audience to know what's inside sales strategies for everyone, because that's when I think we'll be able to tell them why it's so essential to their life.
No, what's in the book is a very, very simple outline about how to sell, which is basically how to help people get what they want. In exchange for them getting what they want, then you get what you want. That's the whole premise. Sales is not a mystery. It's just helping people get what they want. And if you like people and you're curious about people, then my whole goal of the book was to make it really simple. And the quick story on that is my son ran into my office one day, my 22-year-old son, and said, I want to become rich. I want to be rich. I go, that's great. How are you going to do that? And he said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. He says, you teach everybody how to be entrepreneurs. Teach me. I go, no. He says, what? I'm your son. Why you do it for everybody? You won't do it for me. I go, I'm not going to do it. He goes, why? I said, because something you got to learn first. You got to learn first. He said, you first got to learn how to sell, because if you can't sell, there's no income. And if there's no income, there's no business. And if there's no business, there's no entrepreneur. And so, and I think that I travel around the world, as you know, and anytime I see people that are unhappy with their lifestyle, their business is struggling, they're giving up on their dreams, it's mostly because they don't know how to sell. They don't think it's important, or they think the book will sell itself or something crazy like that. And they suffer. And it's just because of mostly out of fear and unknowing. And so I wrote a book to make it super, super simple so anybody can do it.
I mean, you already answered what was going to be the next part of my question, and I love that. And I think that's what I've loved about all our conversations till now, that you understand what I'm asking, and I don't have to make it into this long question.
Right.
Because I'm just so intrigued to be speaking to you, and I have just so much in my mind. And one of the things I noticed in the book was that you stress a lot on confidence and about enthusiasm being very, very important. How do you teach someone who doesn't naturally have that confidence, who not naturally that enthusiastic, even though they're enthusiastic about the idea that they have or the pitch they have, but they're not able to portray it? How do you teach them that?
Well, it's like I said, if you, first of all, everybody has a level of confidence in something. Confidence comes from repetition of something. If you do something enough, you'll get good at it, good enough to feel confident in it. The same thing with sales. It's just that people don't take it on. So like I said, if you like people, want to help people, and you're curious about people, that's how you build it. And you take those three elements and throw a system to it, a couple of skills, about 4 or 5 skills, and you practice. And that's what the book is about. It's just like, try this routine, try this. Here's a dialogue. Somebody says this, you say that, and you just practice it. And it's amazing how quickly people go, well, I didn't like sales before, and now I think it's fun. And that was the whole idea, is for people to take that one thing that's holding them back and unlock their income.
So again, and a very interesting thing, and I speak also from personal experience, I think for most people, it's a fear of hearing a no from a potential client, a business partner, an investor. I mean, even a friend who said they'll support them in their idea is what holds them back. And I know the book has helped me look at how to deal with it, how to possibly overcome it. But I think our listeners would love to know from you that how does the book help someone get over that fear of rejection or hearing that no?
Well, I think that's a good question. I mean, how do you get over the fear of rejection? I'm not sure you ever get over the fear of rejection. You just learn how to manage it. I think so. What happens is we take the whole concept of sales and flip it 180 degrees. Rather than trying to pitch yourself and explain yourself and try to be interesting, we say try to be interested. Okay. Rather than telling people what you do, ask questions. So you reverse the communication in almost every case. If you're nervous about rejection, spend your time asking good questions and listening. That's all, and be interested in other people. And sooner or later, they'll ask you how you can help rather than trying to pitch the deal. So I think that's one of the big things. And of course, in the book, there's a lot of techniques like affirmations and visualizations and things to do to get your mind right when it's going into the toilet a little bit.
I love that one.
And
I love that bit.
Celebrate wins. It's like, we're taught in school how to focus on what doesn't work. I'm not going to sit here and talk about school, but school in the book, I say the 7 or 8 things that school teaches you that keeps you from selling. And then we flip those around and say how you take those things like making mistakes.
Yeah.
Rather than being afraid of them, cherish them because that's called market research. That anybody social media posts know that you're looking for the mistakes as fast as you can to correct them. So it's a very different mindset. So the whole book is about taking the fear of rejection. It's not rejection because nobody's rejecting you. It's an objection. That's number one, meaning they don't understand or they don't see the value. That's valid. So then you help them and ask them why. What is it you don't understand? What is it? Why do you think it's too expensive? They'll tell you, and then you can help them. So it's not about putting yourself back against the wall. The spotlight's on you now. Present. That's a recipe for disaster, So
I get that because another thing I read in the book and which I loved was the idea of how the fact that your book embraces the fact that each individual is different and each person has to develop their own style of how they pitch, how they sell. They don't need to copy. It doesn't have to be copy someone else's. It doesn't have to be templatized.
That's right.
And I mean, if you could just tell the listeners a little bit about how you do that, which gets them more intrigued to read about it, it would be wonderful.
Sure. A book I wrote about 20 years ago is called Sales Dogs. And it was about sales also. It said you don't have to be an attack dog to be successful in sales. Meaning that when you ask the average person, what is a salesperson? They have this picture of a used car sales guy, insurance guy, whatever, cutthroat, never take no for an answer. And most people go, I don't want to be that kind of a person. Well, the truth of it is that's how I started in sales too. And I said, I don't want to be that kind of a person. Luckily, I had my first sales manager said, well, what do you do well? And so in the book, in sales strategies, we find there's 5 different personality types. And you'll read each one and you'll gravitate toward 1 or 2. And then there's a specific strategy that you use that an attack dog wouldn't use. And if you go to our website at blairsinger.com, there's a free diagnostic where you can take it and it'll tell you which breed of sales dog you are. Okay. In a very fun way. And then a strategy of how to play to your strength. For example, somebody that's very service oriented is not an attack dog. Somebody that's very data oriented is not a retriever type of a person. And a person very good one-on-one rapport builder is not the schmoozing socialite. Okay. So there's all different ways to do it and to do it really, really effectively. And it's a lot more fun. But one thing I'll say about that too is that you said something about trying to be like somebody else. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people in dozens of countries. And anytime you try to be like somebody else, copy somebody else, it does 2 things. It crushes your spirit, number one, which is the most devastating thing. You're just not yourself, and it's not effective, and people know you're not being real. So the truth of it is, the best thing to do is get comfortable with you, with all your warts and with all your wounds and all the garbage we carry around, and just be okay with that, because everybody's like that, and the people that are the most real actually sell the most.
That I definitely get. Something I found very interesting in the book was how you outline a practical framework for people to work. And this is exactly what we're talking about right now. I mean, I love dogs and I love the exercise on the site, and I'm definitely going to go and take it one of these days. But the book does give people a framework on how to open conversations and just perspective. Can you share one of those exercises with us today?
Yeah, most of the exercises in the book are actually role plays, which is the best of all, where you match up with somebody else. One's the prospect, the other person is the salesperson, you. And you engage in a conversation. You follow the format that I give you in the book. Okay. So one of the best ways to prospect people is to find people. If you are a consumer of the product or the service, then talk to other people like yourself, because obviously if you bought it, then maybe somebody else like you will buy it. Okay. So your network is really important. I'm not a big believer in talking to strangers. Most people don't like it. That's a little nerve wracking. So you talk to people that you know, and people that know people that you know, and know the other people that they know. Right. So the expression is your net worth. You probably heard this before, is equal to your work. Right. So work within a network, or if you're brand new and you don't know anybody, then go visit users for a while, and visit users for about 30 days, find out what's worked for them and their challenges and things like that. And just work within a very narrow band to begin with. Feel comfortable, Sometimes I know when I was first starting, I would just go into a user site, and because I was selling office equipment, and I would walk in there and just sit down and talk to them. So tell me about your business. What do you do? Why do you do this? How did our company help you? Or you have any frustrations? And just do that. And you'd be amazed that within a couple of days, not years, a couple of days, you have a really good feel for your customer. So it's like you're talking to friends. You're talking to people that you already know. And that's the way I tell people to start, because that's a lot more humane.
What I found very interesting is the fact that in sales strategies for everyone, you've actually offered doable things that help a person handle objections. Whether it's a no or a maybe, because maybe is actually sometimes put us under a lot more stress than a direct no, because you don't know if you've done it right, if the other person's trying to be nice to you, if they're being polite and they actually mean, I don't agree with the idea, at least we don't have that. But what I want to ask you is, what is the counterintuitive way to turn a no into a maybe, and that then finally you can convert it to a yes?
Well, yeah. I mean, the big trap of handling an objection is your natural instinct when somebody gives you an objection, like you're too expensive or I don't need that, is to get defensive and try to sell. And say, well, no, it's like this. And that's the exact wrong approach. That's what you would naturally do. So the counterintuitive way on the other side of that is to say thank you first, acknowledge, well, thank you for the feedback, and then ask a question. That's it. And even if your brain vacates because your emotion's high and your intelligence is low and you're panicking, say thank you, but why do you think it's too expensive? Or why don't you think you need it? Why? I mean, if you can't think of any other intelligent question, just ask a question. Because remember, this is in a negotiation. The person that asks the question is always in control of the conversation. So you want to be the one asking questions and not defending. So how do you turn it around? You ask questions. They give you an answer. Say, thank you. Well, why is that? And then they tell you and you say, thank you. Well, what's the issue with that? Okay. Until you keep getting it down to a place where you hear them say, I really want the product or service. It's just too expensive. Now you can turn it to a yes by saying, thank you. So by asking another question. So if I can find you a solution that's closer to your budget, because that's what you said, would you be interested in looking at that? And they'll go, well, yeah. Now you went from a flat no to a yes, and you're back in the conversation. See what I'm saying? So it's not selling. It's just acknowledging and asking until you actually see where they get the value and you get to the truth. Because a lot of times the first objection is not the real objection. Too expensive. No, that's not the truth. The truth of it is they just don't see the value. That's the issue. It's not about price. It's about value. I could tell a lot of stories about that. So,
yeah, but I want his personal story. I want you to tell me anyone that you can where it came as a no and you turned it around for it to become a yes.
I'll tell you a story that launched an entire industry. This is not even my story. Gentleman who started one of the first weight loss companies in America was trying to sell weight loss system for $350. And he had a woman in his office. He was struggling with his business. He could not sell them. Woman kept saying it's too expensive. She clearly needed it. He looks outside. He sees a brand new Mercedes 450 SL sitting outside, shiny, bright red in the sun. He goes, you like cars? She said, yeah. He goes, look at that one. She goes, wow, that's a beautiful car. He goes, how much do you think that car's worth? She goes, 80,000 US dollars. He goes, probably right. He says, what if I could tell you I could get that car for $6,000 for you? Would you buy it? She goes, are you kidding? I could get that car for $6,000? Of course I'd buy it. He goes, so you're telling me you could come up with $6,000 to get that car, but you can't come up with $350 to save your life? And he sold it. And so the moral, but it was brilliant. So the moral to the story is people don't get the value. So sometimes you have to show them something else that they perceive to have value and then equate it to what you're doing. I mean, it's a little more complicated, but it's a great story that people should remember.
I mean, I'm really, really enamored by the story. You know, we're in a world where the people you're approaching very often to try and take testimonials, social proof. Do you think they're as effective as someone who's starting out? How do they get that? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Design out.
Oh, yeah.
It can get very confusing for people.
Well, let's keep it simple. First of all, social proof is critical. Okay. Because a person wants to buy, people want to buy. They don't want to be sold to. We know that, right?
Yeah.
So if you can provide social proof that somebody else has used it or has done something similar, then that really helps a person make an intelligent decision. And how do you do that? If you're brand new, just starting, then you find somebody else in your company who already has a customer, get a testimony from that customer, even though it's not your customer. That's fine. Or I do a lot of work with coaches. People want to be personal services and coaches. I say, if you're brand new, my recommendation, take 30 days, 60 days and coach a couple people for free, and just do whatever it takes to give them a great result. And it's not really free because you say, look, I'll do this for free. In exchange, if we get your result, I'd like a testimonial. And they're going to say, of course. And so you work your butt off. You get good experience. You get a lot of practice. You hone your skills. And then you can tell people, say, look, I'm new in the coaching business, but the first 2 clients I've worked with have doubled their sales in the last 60 days. You want to be my 3rd client? What's somebody going to say? No? You know what I'm saying?
That just makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really will work for a lot of people.
Right. And a personal service, you can do that with. A product is a little bit different. But if you're selling personal services, which is a lot of what this freelance economy is offering, then I think that's a real easy way to get testimonials.
What about a product?
Product is a little different. You need to find a current user of the product. If you want to get one like that, and I'm sure you're not the first person to sell the first product, or to find a product very similar to yours, if yours is innovative, and interview people and say, what was it like before you had the product? Now, what's it like after you had the product? That's how you do a testimonial, by the way. It's a before and after, just like weight loss and beauty. They've been using those types of testimonials forever. And because they work. Two pictures, one person like, and then the other person like this, right? And it's like, it's really simple.
But it works. I mean, and I understand what you mean when you say that. So I want you to tell me a bit about how the book talks about time management, prioritizing prospects. It sounds very simple, but a lot of us out there are so overwhelmed by the big way of trying to create our own products and businesses that it becomes very difficult for us to manage this. And I know it's then that there's a God's book that help us focus about it.
Yeah.
And focus with meeting the right people. But I'd love to hear from you, which is one of your favorites that you mentioned there.
Right. Well, I think that we talk about finding people that are like you if it's something that you consumed, because you can speak with knowledge on the subject. But I think that the other thing too is time management is more about, I mentioned this in the book too, is a little bit more about discipline. I don't think that I'm that smart or that talented over all the years, but the one thing that I can do is I can show up on time and I can follow a recipe. And that's really, if you want to be good in sales, that's it. That's it. Just segment your time in the day, put it in your calendar. I'm going to go prospecting for this time. I'm going to follow up for this time of day, and I'm going to do proposals or whatever for the other time of day, and be religious about it and just get into the routine of doing it. And you'll find that it's very, very natural. So the easy way to do that, talk to people you already know, people that are like you, and discipline your day.
And on the discipline your day, I mean, I think all of us tend to be very ambitious and think we can do 100 things. So there's a tip on how we don't end up doing 100 things and just do what things in a single day or maybe 3.
Yeah, well, most people over plan a day and under plan a year. So it's like, that's kind of normal.
Okay. And I think this is something one learns as one moves along.
Well, that's the discipline. I mean, if you just put it in your calendar, then after about 30 days, it becomes routine.
That's interesting because given we are now, I mean, especially post-pandemic, globally, most of the sales teams in the world work online across time zones. What's there in the book that can help them best adapt to virtual settings? Because we are having a Zoom podcast, right? And they're doing the same thing over Zoom or whatever platform they want to use to sell to a prospective client.
Right.
What can they pull out of the book that will help them do that?
Well, I think I mentioned in the book that if you're one-on-one doing this, it's pretty much the same. It's the same stuff. Their attention span's less. So therefore you got to engage better by asking more questions, and showing that if you're interested, you're looking at somebody like this, that you're interested. If you're not interested, you're doing something like this. So again, your body language is going to make a very big difference on Zoom. But the last thing I'm going to say about virtual is if you're going to be selling virtually, you've got to learn to master the one-to-many selling skill and get people, like you do a free webinar or something like that, then get them into a one-on-one, which is another skill. I don't really cover a lot of that in the book. I cover my experiences of doing it, but I think if people could just get this piece down, you can double, triple, quadruple your income pretty quickly.
So as I was telling you, I've started reading your books. And when I was reading a bit about, and of course I did the blurbs, it's the other two, and I noticed in the Team Code of Honor, you talk about creating non-negotiable rules for teams. You talk about how you create those to help your teams perform better, you perform better. But how does that philosophy tie into an individual sales strategies or your team sales strategy?
That's a great question, and it's an important one. We call those non-negotiable rules a code of honor. A code of honor. which just about every great religion in the world, every great government, every great culture has a certain set of rules of how they operate, and if you're going to have a sales team that really works, you have to have a code of honor for that team. One of which is to be responsible. In other words, something happens, you don't blame, you don't justify, you take ownership. Number one. Number two is a willingness to be accountable, which means that you report your numbers. Okay. Whether your numbers are good or bad, you got to put them up there so you can be coached properly. And the other thing is to celebrate wins, continue learning. For us, one of the code of honor rules on all my teams has always been never abandon a teammate in need. And as an entrepreneur, that rule has saved my butt so many times, because teams rally together to support each other. That's why you got to have those rules if you want to have high performance.
And I understand that, because I've always told everybody I work with that one is only as good as your team is. If I could achieve everything, then I wouldn't need a team.
Exactly.
And so I completely get that. I also know that Summit Leadership was a book that was inspired by a trek here to Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, I mean, the climb is as used as a metaphor, I know, in the title. But I really, really want to understand that what were the leadership lessons from that experience that shaped you as a coach today, have helped you write other books, and you still use?
Yeah, it's shifted me not only as a coach, but as a human being. Three things. Number one, it's one step at a time. One step at a time. You can't run up a mountain. It's one step. If you're focused only on the summit, it'll intimidate you. That's number one. Take it one step at a time. Everything. Number two is there's two parts to the journey. There's the preparation and the climb. And you got to learn to love both. If you just want to do the climb and you don't do the preparation, you'll never make the climb. So you got to learn to love both pieces. And finally, what every climber knows, and I didn't know till I went up there, it's not about getting to the summit. The summit's not it. What is it is, who do I have to become to get to the summit? What kind of a person will I have to be? Who am I going to meet? What changes am I going to make in myself? And in that book, Summit Leadership, I talk about a very stirring story about myself and my older son changed our relationship forever on the side of the mountain. And I never expected it. So it's not about the summit. It's about what happens.
I mean, I think that's a great concept, and I completely understand what you mean. I mean, you teach globally today. You go all over the world, and then one day I'd love to have a chat. How many times a year are you traveling? But that's a question for another day. Right. But tell me, what is it that you've noticed separate top performers from the very, normal, low, mediocre performers? I mean, I don't even want to use those words because I think there's an individual difference. But what makes the top performers?
Okay, that's the perm question, because it's not about talent. Let me put it that way. It's not about talent or intelligence. I've seen the smartest, most intelligent people still fail. It's not about that. It's about code of honor, which we just talked about.
Right.
Self-discipline. Okay. And the other two things is being able to play to your strength, do something that you're good at or something you want to get good at and love it. And and if you do that, do what you love, do what you think that you're good at or something that you're willing to continue studying about. These are the people that excel. These are the people that excel.
That's really interesting. That's very, very interesting. As we discussed, sales has been a profession it's not in profession, but an instinct from time immemorial. And strategies, the way people sell products, everything's changed. But what do you say has stayed timeless?
Well, what stayed timeless are the basics of selling, helping people find what they want and helping them get it. That's given. But what's changed is speed. You don't have the time that you used to have. You don't have time. I mean, I saw a statistic. Over 60% of the world population is on social media now, right now. Okay. Which is startling. So you only have a split second to make an impression and get somebody's attention, and then you're gone. Right. And so that's what's changed. So the ability to be able to make the impression quickly, in a crowded marketplace with 8.5 billion people on it. I mean, that's what's changed. And that's why you got to hone these skills.
Okay. I mean, I get that. Okay, back to please. I have one very interesting question. At least to me, it's very interesting. I don't know if you'll find it that interesting. But looking at your entire body of work, what is that one thing, two things that you wish every entrepreneur or leader would look at adopting immediately? I mean, ideally, most entrepreneurs and leaders, but I would say anyone should look at making it holistic.
Yeah, well, that's simple for me. Every entrepreneur and leader needs to understand that their job has changed, that you not are only a leader, you got to be a teacher and a leader. A teacher and a leader. Because to get, not teacher like school teacher, but how to be resilient, how to pick yourself up when you get knocked down, how to handle mistakes, how to navigate in the world. That's number one. That didn't used to be the case, but leaders need to be teachers. And the second thing is that leaders need to have a sense of integrity. You know, what's the truth? The walk that your thoughts, your actions, your words line up and are consistent, and people understand that you're operating by a core set of values. You do that and you'll change lots of lives, and you'll build great businesses, and you'll sleep really well at night.
I think that's most perfect way to describe it. Leaders need to be teachers and stand by what they believe in.
Right.
I mean, I think that is so essential for a business, the way you run a country, in every possible way. It's all about integrity.
That's right.
Blair, it's been an honor. It's going to be much joy to have you join us today. And I wish we had more time, because I really, really enjoyed this conversation. But with your next book, I promise you, I'm going to make this similar podcast last for at least 2 hours, so people get to know more and more about all that they can learn from you. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us.
Well, thank you. You know, it's an honor to be able to partner with Bookscape and to be able to be hosted on a platform of over 4 million titles that are piracy-free, authentic titles, and to be able to be a part of all that and to bring great literature and great thoughts to India. I've loved India for many years, been coming there for 15 years. So thank you for the honor of being part of this.
One last time, Blair, thank you so much. Enjoyed the conversation. Please like, share, subscribe to our channel as we bring more books to you.